Welkom bij de podcast Dromen is voor Volwassenen. Wil jij inspiratie opdoen om je dromen te bereiken? Luister dan de podcast en volg het gelijknamige Instagram kanaal om meteen op de hoogte te zijn van de nieuwste updates en extra materiaal. En als je vriend van de show wordt, dan heb je toegang tot exclusief materiaal en kom je als eerste meer te weten over de aankomende gasten en meer. Vergeet ook niet om de show 5 sterren te geven in je favoriete podcastspeler. Welcome to the second episode of the podcast Dromen is voor Volwassenen, that is spoken in English. My guests today are Denise and Ryne, from the website hesaidorShesaid.com. Denise and Ryne create free travel guides and share a lot of travel tips in different countries. They want to inspire people with the content they create. A few years ago, they decided to change their direction in life. What made them change their life and start pursuing this life full of travel and content creation? Why does this involve Germany? But also, you will get to know Denise and Ryne a little bit better and get tips on how to turn your life around to get towards your dream life. Denise and Ryne, welcome to the podcast. How are you guys?
Hi, Paul. Thanks for having us. Happy to be here. Doing good.
Yeah.
End of podcast.
Right.
No, before we start talking about travel, Germany, and the content creation, let's go back to the beginning. How did you guys meet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You want to take this?
I think you want to take this because Ryan loves to point some things out that I like to leave out.
Yeah, so in 2012, I did a year abroad in Trier, Germany, where Denise was studying at the time. And we actually met in the local Irish pub on karaoke night, where I like to tear it up on the stage. And I like to tell people Denise fell in love with my voice. But she says she doesn't remember that part of it. But anyway, we met there. And
I'll just cut that last part out of it.
Right. So that's where we met. And it started off, obviously, not obviously, but it started off as a friendship. We helped each other with homework. And literally, that's what we did. She was studying English. I was studying German. We would correct each other's papers, and a friendship developed. And then years later, we got a little bit closer just by keeping in touch. And I wanted to move back to Germany because I really loved it over here. And we thought, well, let's just give this a try. And so I moved over, and the rest is history, as we say.
Yeah, and that was like 13 years ago that you went to Germany to study?
Right. I did 1 year abroad in 2012, and in 2013 I came back, or I went back to the US, and I finished college. And then in near the end of 2015 is when we decided to give the relationship a try. Denise had come over once to visit me. We traveled around a little bit in the US, and then in late October 2015, I moved back to Germany and started looking for work.
Yeah, and before you came to Europe, what did you do in America?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like I said, I was finishing college first and foremost. Otherwise, I worked on some smaller projects. I mean, I worked in a local cafe sometimes to earn a little bit of money, and it really was a little bit of money. And I worked with some friends of mine trying to get a startup going. But really, my main goal was to move back to Germany. So after I graduated at the end of the summer in 2014, I was really focusing on trying to find work in Germany. But it was very hard because Germans love their in-person interviews, and that's not so easy when you're living in the US.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And Denise, how was this for you? Because you were studying at your homeland, or in your homeland.
Exactly.
How was it when, you guys met at the Irish pub?
Well, it wasn't as special as Ryan likes to say, because it was just a normal, I knew a friend of his, and she just introduced us, and it was just a normal, getting to know each other, just very, I don't know,
Casual.
simple, casual. Exactly. So I didn't think much of it. And after that, we like really just stayed in touch, texting and, like Ryan said, helping each other with homework and stuff. And then after he moved back to the US, we just like sometimes would like say happy birthday to each other or something like that. And then only like, it was 2 years later that we started talking more, and then started found out that we like traveling, and went on this US road trip that Ryan mentioned earlier. So
and when before you met each other, you both always liked traveling?
Yes,
yes,
for sure.
So that was like a common interest that
right.
Did not start everything, but was a mutual ground to grow together, to say.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And well, your upbringing of both of you was apart from each other. How was it in America and Germany to grow up and like be going to school when you were like 6, 7 years old?
Oh, you want to start or me?
You can start this time.
Okay. Well, since I grew up in Germany, we traveled around a lot because, here in Europe, you can just go to a different country really quickly. So, my parents would always take us to different countries like Spain, Italy, Austria, everything, Denmark, Netherlands, everything that's easily accessible. We wouldn't really fly anywhere because my dad was really scared, or is really scared of flying. So we would always stick to Europe, but we did a lot. And my parents would take us on a lot of hiking trips. Like every Sunday we would go hiking. And at some point I started hating it because, I became a teenager and you're like...
Puberty kicked in.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, it's not really cool to go hiking with my parents on a Sunday. So I started really not liking it anymore. But since I grew up like that, I think that's what really, like, I don't know, how do you say in English?
It planted the seed.
Yeah.
For your love of hiking.
The seed of the outdoors and of traveling, because that's really the one thing we always did together as a family. So it's like in me somehow, apart from the teenage years that we have to take out of that. But that's what it was like for me. Lots of traveling in the European countries and lots of hiking. Yeah.
Most of the time hiking in Germany, of course, but also when you were on holiday?
Yes, we would go hiking there too. Even though we would also go to the beach a lot, so we wouldn't hike there a lot. But if there was something, a way we could hike, like I remember in Spain one time we hiked up like a huge mountain, which was insane. I don't know why we did that. It was crazy for a child, but every opportunity we got, I think we took to go on a hike. So it was pretty common for us.
And how was that for you, Ryan?
Similar, but also quite a bit different. So I grew up in Kansas, which is a very rural state, lots of agriculture, lots of farms, not a lot of people. But what's noteworthy there is that I think the actual number is 97% of the land is privately owned. So it's a big contrast to Germany, where you have a lot of public land where you're free to walk and hike and explore the outdoors. For us, if we wanted to explore the outdoors, really that meant going hunting or fishing and asking someone for permission to use their land. But that's not really my thing. But in terms of travel, my parents always told us that they grew up without opportunities to travel. Their families didn't ever take them anywhere or weren't able to. And so my parents used every opportunity they had to take us on a trip. And so we would always take one big summer vacation, and we would always drive, not because anyone was afraid of flying, but because the idea was, you've not been here before, you should drive through, see what it looks like, which means no video games, no distractions. You're looking out the window because you've not been here before. You have to see what it looks like. And that part of it was so boring. But ultimately, I loved those trips. I always loved seeing new things, learning new things, experiencing different, I guess in the US, it would be subcultures, so to speak, which is incomparable to the cultural experiences you can have here in Europe, of course. But that really, really drove my love for travel as well.
Yeah, so from the start, you guys both were like infected with the traveling virus and exploring the world. Well, I'm going to ask you a question that I want answered at the end of our conversation. But I'm just planting the seed to think about it. What if you're talking to your younger self, like you were talking about just a few minutes ago, to Denise and Ryne from 6 to 7 years old, and you have to give them one advice about what they can do to make their dreams come true? I'm curious what that advice will be. Talked about how you guys met, how your upbringing regarding traveling was. At some point, you got together and you decided, you know what? I'm going to start a website, or we're going to start a website. But what were you guys doing before that?
Mm-hmm. So we started our website, I would say, in the summer or fall of 2016, somewhere around then. Yeah. And before that, we were working, or I was working. I had found a job. Denise was doing her master's.
Yeah.
Right. And this was in Trier, actually, of all places. We ended up back in Trier.
It's a beautiful city. I've been there 2020, I think.
Oh.
Very nice. We loved it.
Did you go on a city trip or like the whole area?
Well, I think we're going to talk about this a little more later, but in 2020, there was like some kind of virus in all of the world.
And you might have heard of it.
Yeah, I got some of it still in the freezer, but it's more drinkable. But we were thinking about going like island hopping in Greece. That was our plan for that summer. But then, well, all of the world got in lockdown, and we were thinking, if we can't do that, the year before that, 2019, we bought our house. So that summer we didn't go on a holiday, but we thought, well, this year we want to go on a holiday. So what can we do in order to go on a holiday within the possibilities of the coronavirus? Mm-hmm. So we decided to go on a road trip with our car and ourselves, and we started we live in the center of the Netherlands near Utrecht, and we went to Luxembourg. So we did like a little bit of the Mulletal Trail there.
Nice. Oh, yeah, very cool. So pretty.
Yeah, we didn't go like a full loop. Just I think we walked about 5 kilometers there, going to the Schiessentümpel waterfall. I don't know if you guys have seen it or been there, but that was our first stop. And next stop was Trier, and then we went like all the way to the southwest of Germany, and then all the way to the southeast to the Koningszee. Wow! And then back to the Eifel. So it was it was a nice trip. But in Trier, that was like our second stop. So it was we went from the Mulletal Trail, like the forest and everything, to the Romanian city.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, it's really pretty. We really liked living there. Yeah. Definitely miss it.
Oh yeah, it's like its own little world almost. You know, the connection to the airport isn't great, which we really did not like, but we just absolutely loved it. There were plenty of opportunities to go outside. We didn't have a vehicle at the time, but we could walk or bus or bike anywhere we needed to go. And great city. Anyone listening, if you've not been, go.
Yeah, but you guys, to go back from where Denise asked me, what did I do in Trier? You guys were living there. Denise was doing her master's, and you were working, and you guys started the website.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's
and
right.
was the website like the idea of becoming something like a side hustle, or was it just something you guys love to do as a hobby?
I would say it was a little bit of both. And I'm sure we'll get back to the inspiration a little bit later, but the main thing with the website was the job I was working. I earned minimum wage. I was working in Luxembourg, so minimum wage there translated to a little bit higher salary than I would have gotten with minimum wage in Germany. But at the end of the day, with Denise doing her master's, me earning a minimum wage job, and rent being what it is, we didn't have that much money, but we were still able to save and take trips and travel affordably. We were able to make that happen. And anyone we would talk to just didn't understand that. They were just always asking us, how do you have money for that? How can you afford that? I mean, because when I moved over initially, I don't know if I even had $1,000 in my bank account when I moved to Germany. And then, like I said, the job I had was supporting both of us. I mean, Denise did have a small,
I had a
part-time, like a quarter time.
At the end, I had a part-time job.
Yeah.
At the school.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, we weren't earning very much.
No.
And so we sort of set out with the website, not only to answer the question, how can we afford it, but how can anyone afford it, or how can you afford it too? The idea was to provide budget travel tips, essentially, but we thought that we could also put sort of a unique spin on it, and do like, okay, a he said, she said thing. This was how I viewed the trip. This is what I liked and didn't like. This is what she liked and didn't like. And that was the original goal. But the domain name he said, she said was taken by a divorce attorney. So we couldn't take that one. So we decided we would put the or in the middle, he said or she said, and that's kind of how our online brand, so to speak, took shape. But we were hoping to earn some money with the blog initially, but that was a challenge, and still is a challenge, I would say, to earn money consistently and effectively with the blog.
Yeah, I think that what you're saying are two things. First of all, you were financially aware of what you guys had to do to not only create the traveling part of budget traveling for yourself, but also thought, well, I think there are more people who want this. How can we provide for these people in order to give them inspiration and maybe get some money out of it? But I'm tasting like that's not the main part of it.
Right.
But it would be nice to have, well, if you have something, same for my podcast, I would love to make a lot of money with it, but that's not the main purpose.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, ultimately, in our experience, travel has shaped or reshaped our perspectives. It's helped us combat, I would say, stereotypes that we were taught even inadvertently growing up. You learn a lot about the world through travel. You learn a lot about people through travel. You develop an enhanced sense of empathy and compassion. You feel more connected with the world around you. And, these are the types of things that I feel if more people had those types of experiences, then we would have a much nicer world. We'd be living in a much nicer society. Now, we're going to stay away from politics as much as we can, of course, but I don't think it's hard to argue against that. It's life-changing, ultimately, and for the better. And it's positive. It has positive impacts for you and the people around you and the people you deal with. And that's something that we really want others to have as well. And we don't feel that they should be limited by their earning.
Yeah,
by the
I think
earnings.
that's a great thing. And another thing that I just got thinking while you were talking about this is that your parents did learn you this while you're going into the car in Kansas,
Yeah.
where you had to experience everything around you and not be like
I
barred
wasn't
or
absorbed in a
restricted.
video game or something.
Yeah, but also
Right.
restricted to the things you would know. You were
Mhm.
like able to soak in all of the other experiences in order to grow and to broaden your perspective.
Yeah, that's true. As a kid, I definitely didn't think of it like that. I thought, man, these fields look just like the fields back home, you know. But they definitely took us to a lot of museums, and we did little like historical tours and things like that, and that also helped in school. Helped a lot with school actually. But yeah, you're right. You know, just I guess like the journey is the destination, if we can be cliche about it.
We can, no
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
And Denise, how was this for you? Because you were still like studying. For Ryan,
Yeah.
it was like working in Luxembourg, getting back, making sure the budget fits so you can both do the nice things about traveling and also like paying rent and groceries and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. For me, it was it was more like I want to travel even more. Like I was really wanting to make that our life. Like I really wanted, or at least a part of our lives, to only be travel. So I started working on Ryan to go on a world trip because he didn't really like his job that much that he was working back then. So I said, well, you don't really like your job that much, and I'm almost done with studying. I almost finished my master's degree. So that would be like a perfect time to make a cut and say, okay, let's just go travel and see what it's like to be doing this full time. And after, I don't know, talking to you for a long time about this.
She worked on me for a long time, yeah.
Yeah.
For the best, I think.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of things to consider. I mean, I was an immigrant. It was very, well, yeah, it was difficult. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. It was very difficult to be allowed to live in Germany and work in Luxembourg, a different country, being a non-EU citizen. It's something that a lot of EU citizens take for granted, I learned back then, because nobody understood the problem, but the countries didn't like it. Germany said, well, if you're working in Luxembourg, you need to live in Luxembourg. And Luxembourg said, you can live in Germany if they allow it, we don't care, or you can live here. But if we had lived in Luxembourg, then literally my entire salary would have went to rent, and we wouldn't have had anything left over, so it wouldn't have been worth even working. But it was a long, difficult process. We even had to write, like, I guess the equivalent of a senator in Germany for help to like, hey, can you help us out here? You know, certainly I can't be the first person who's wanted to do this. And that's ultimately what allowed me to do that. And of course, you know, being at that time the main breadwinner, so to speak, I was thinking about our finances. Okay, it was difficult to make this work now. What happens when we come back from a world trip? Are we going to have the same struggles? That's a year not paying into retirement. You know, all of these classic things that you learn growing up. You know, find a good job, pay into retirement, and you can travel when you're old and tired. You know, like. But as Denise hinted at, I actually really liked the work I was doing at that job, but I was, to put this as kindly as I can, I was very unfond of the management style, and it was quickly became evident that was not it. You know, that was going to be a dead-end job. I could get stuck there if I let myself. And I tried looking around for other opportunities, and I had some other offers, but at the end of the day, they didn't feel right. It didn't feel like progress. And I finally came home one day and I said to Denise, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. The
We'll
bucket
do it.
was full, so you just decided no more of this. Let's do something else.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I just couldn't handle it anymore. And I knew that at that point, it almost felt like anything would be better than this, but it was still a scary step for me, at least.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, for me it was much easier because I didn't have a real job yet, just a little part-time job and stuff, and had this big cut after my master's degree. So for me it was really easy. Well, for Ryan it was like a life-changing decision, but yeah.
But it felt like a big risk, but we'll save everyone the suspense. That was the best thing we ever did. That was the best decision we've ever made in our lives, easily.
Yeah, it's something I've heard from a lot of different guests on the podcast that, well, when they made the decision, in hindsight, it was the best decision they could have made.
Yes.
Right.
So that's sometimes if you're scared of the decision, it means it can be the best decision.
Right. Yeah.
So actually, you guys quit your day job to go on a world trip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How did you guys go? Did you take a lot of time of planning to decide, well, we're going to go within Europe or like Asia or Africa? How did that process go?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't plan a lot, actually. We just picked a few countries we knew we definitely want to see. We definitely wanted to go see New Zealand, for example. We definitely wanted to go see South America, and we definitely want to go see a little bit of Southeast Asia.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew those were the 3 main things we wanted to see, and I think we booked the first 2 flights or something, but everything else we did super spontaneously and nothing really planned. Sometimes we didn't have a place to stay for the next night because we were so
Well, yeah, for example, when we flew to New Zealand, we didn't have our first accommodation booked when we got, until shortly before we got on the plane, actually.
So it was not a plan, a thoroughly planned world trip. It was, really spontaneous, but that's what made it so cool too, because we could decide how long we wanted to actually stay in one place. When we liked a place a lot, we said, okay, let's stay a few more days here, or maybe an entire week or so.
Mm-hmm.
So that made it really, I don't know.
It was definitely a learning experience. Denise remembers that aspect of it much more fondly than I do, because I had moments where I was just like, man, let's go home. This is stressful, because there were times where we would stay somewhere for 3 nights and it was just go, go, go. We saw everything we could see, but we've got the next place to get to, and that was sort of like the beginning of our trip was almost like that. Even though the first few places we actually stayed for quite a while, but we were very active and very busy. And a lot of the places we were traveling, there was a lot of culture shock that we had to endure. And when you're switching countries on a weekly basis, it's a lot for the mind to take. And
I can imagine.
And in Central and South America, a lot of people there do not speak English. I had a very, very basic level of Spanish, almost non-existent, which put the entire communication responsibility on me. And so that was extremely stressful. But that also really made the experience worth having. We would do it a little bit differently if we had to do it again. But I think if we had planned everything strictly in advance, we wouldn't have had the same experience, and it wouldn't have been as enriching for us.
I can imagine, because I think what I hear you guys saying, like the first few weeks, you were still in the normal, like, flow of when you get onto a holiday, you have like a strict time before you have to go back. But the date to go back, there wasn't a date to go back to,
Right.
go back from. Were you guys, because you had the website, were you busy creating content for the website also during that?
We tried.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we did. We took a lot of we bought a camera to take the pictures for the website, and just before leaving for the world trip, I started our Instagram account. So I started posting pictures that we've already taken with our new camera just a few months before we left, and then try to keep up with posting while we were traveling. But it was really hard to post, to write blog posts, to take care of the website. So we did much less than we would have liked to, because we were just so busy seeing so many different places.
Right. Yeah, we definitely got caught up in the travel aspect.
Yeah, but also you guys had a little bit of challenges regarding the time that you have, because you were busy visiting all of these great places. But if you also want to write stuff for the blog, then you can only spend time once. So then you've got a little bit of a problem. And how long did this trip take?
Well, in the beginning, we didn't agree on how long it was going to take. I said, let's go for a year. Ryan said, let's go for 6 months, but we never really agreed on how long we're actually going to go. So it was almost like an open end, basically. We knew okay, at some point before a year, we should come back. But one more thing to add. I would have lost my residence permit in Germany if we were gone too long. And we sort of found that out on accident, actually.
Great accident.
Yeah, exactly. We're happy we found out about it before we left, though. And so we went to a local office and just had them sign an extension for me that said, hey, okay, if you're back within 9 months, then it's fine. That was kind of a thing for me, because I always had this plan to also get dual citizenship with Germany, so I could be a German and U.S. citizen, but that requires continuous residency. And so that would have been really important. If I had lost that, then it would have started over from the beginning. But laws have since changed. But I think Denise was getting to a point which I'm sure anyone can guess what happened, considering we started our world trip near the end of 2019.
Yeah, what did happen in 2020?
I remember. Yeah, so that weird virus we were talking about in the beginning happened. So in March, I think it was mid-March of 2020, we made the difficult decision to say, okay, I think we need to go back to Germany, because we were worried we were going to get stuck. In our next country would have been Cambodia, and they were closing the border. So the last planes were leaving. And we said we didn't want to get stuck in Cambodia. You don't know what the health situation is like, what the hospitals are like, if something happens to us. And
we had limited time, and so all of these restrictions were open-ended. So limited savings, we'll put it that way. So if we got stuck there for years on end, who knew, what could happen? Then what would that have meant for our own survivability even?
The budget was too small for 3 extra years.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so we were 7 or 8 months into the world trip before we had to go home, basically. It was a overnight decision, middle of the night decision, where we just booked our flights and went back to Germany. Basically.
Yeah, but by that point we had booked a return flight, actually. By that point, we had a pretty good idea of how much time we would need for the rest of the trip. And we had a return flight from Kuala Lumpur to Germany booked. And that we were about 6 weeks out from that.
Yeah.
So we would have had 6 weeks for Cambodia, Thailand, and Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
And a little bit of Singapore was also planned. It was March 13th. It was the very last day that Denise was allowed to stay in Vietnam. Germans are limited to 14 days on the standard tourist visa. And the bus to Cambodia was leaving the next day. And because the world was freaking out, all of the servers were overloaded, for all the airlines. And we couldn't get on a website to book a flight or change a flight or anything. But finally, after hours, we were able to get in and move up our return flight from Kuala Lumpur. And the best we could do was 3 days later. And then so we booked basically a last-minute flight from Ho Chi Minh and Vietnam, Saigon, however you want to call it, to Kuala Lumpur, where it felt like COVID didn't exist. Like life was totally normal there. Nobody had it. And then 3 days later we came home. Oh, worth noting, I think Malaysia had 4 cases of COVID when we left. And the town that we ended up staying in when we came back to Germany had 26 cases just in that little village. So it's like we left safety and sought safety in the epicenter of the pandemic.
Yeah, I think that's quite a shock to go back to then. Not the well, I can remember when COVID started in like March 2020. Everybody came back from skiing and snowboarding, and that was like the big kaboom of the explosion of COVID. So you guys came back to Germany after the little bit shortened world trip, and you guys still had a website. You had to find jobs, of course. Maybe also a new place to stay. At some point, you guys thought, well, you know what? Germany is also a beautiful country. Let's make content about Germany.
Right.
Yeah.
That was basically also a result of the pandemic because, like a lot of other people, you couldn't really go anywhere else. And there was like a long time where you couldn't even cross borders anymore. So, we just decided to go on road trips in Germany because we love going on road trips and that's our like main hobby. So we just did that. We just took our car or camper or whatever, and we would just go all over Germany and take pictures, videos, and everything, and just started slowly posting about Germany content as well.
It was also kind of a surprise for us to see how diverse the landscapes are in Germany. That was something we didn't expect.
Even for me.
Yeah, that was what I was wanting to ask, because you're German.
Yeah.
And you did go on holiday into also different countries in Europe, but never in Germany itself?
In Germany, the only places we would go would be Bavaria, like the mountains, or the Black Forest. But everywhere else, no. So all the other places were like almost completely new for me, like the center or the beach areas or the east with all the rock formations and stuff. So that was like mind blowing to me that we have all of this and this. It's a small country compared to other countries like the US, where Ryan is from, or Australia or something like that.
Or the Netherlands.
Or
right.
It was just, it's like every time we go to a new place in Germany, we're like, whoa, like, how is this in this country? Like, that's crazy. So
and how did we never know about it before?
Yeah, exactly. So we're like we have to capture this and show it to people because maybe they don't know about it either. So maybe they would like to go see it too because it's just so pretty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we just keep coming full circle back to what we said at the beginning, like we're just showing people the things we love in the hopes that, or in case they would also love them, not even the hopes, but in case they would also love them. And like, I love life in Germany. I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. And I hear people, Germans who grew up here all the time, complaining about it. And I think, man, you guys don't know how good you have it. Like the living conditions here are amazing. The social system is incredible when you've experienced something else. And if you don't have a lot of time or don't feel you can afford to go far away on vacation, look at all these amazing places in your home country that you can go see, even if it's just on the weekend, even if it's just a day trip. You don't even have to spend money on an accommodation. Just get out there and appreciate this beautiful country that you live in.
Yeah, the thing you were saying, I was thinking like sometimes you do not have, or sometimes you do not know what you have until it's gone.
Right.
So all the people who, and I think that's also a good thing that happened during the pandemic, is that people didn't have the chance to go to other countries, so they would see, well, this is what we have in our own country.
Right.
And then you can see a lot of beautiful things. And like I was saying earlier, the road trip during that COVID pandemic area, to put it in a nice frame, we did take like 3 months of planning. Okay, well, we have Germany. What are the beautiful things in Germany that we want to see? And we just used Google Maps, put a lot of markers on it, and then thought, well, I think this sort of looks like it could be our route.
Yeah.
And well, Germany, we had like 2 weeks, so you can't take the whole country in 2 weeks and want everything to see. So we had to make sure, well, we take this part of Germany, and we'll see later in life if we can do the rest or not. Right. But what did make you, well, you look like, or you searched everything that you want to see, but at the moment you have like a full map of Germany and all the cool stuff that you can see. What made you decide to summarize all that stuff into one map?
Yeah, well, because we wanted to give people like, no, how do I say this? It was like, it took us years to find all of these places that we found while traveling, like for the last, it's 2025 now, so for the last 5 years almost. We went to see all of these places in Germany, and it's just so hard to find every tiny little place that looks amazing. So we just started marking all of this on a map for people to just have one resource to look at and know where they need to go, what they want to see. Like, do I like beaches? Do I like rock formations? Do I like the highlands? Do I like the mountains, lakes, whatever? And it's all like categorized, and so you can really plan your best trip that fits you the best, I guess.
Yeah, and a lot of times when we try to research and plan for a trip, you can go into Google Maps and just type sites or hikes or tourist attractions or whatever, and Google will immediately pick out, sometimes it feels like thousands of places on the map, and you start clicking around and you realize, okay, someone marked this little fountain that's not even there anymore. What am I going to, why would I go look at that, And so it's just really hard to filter through, okay, what's actually something that's there and that's cool to see, and what's not, and what can I expect when I get there. And that's something that we experienced and still experience when planning. And so that was also a little bit more of the motivation for this map. We provide a little more information. Okay, what can you see? Okay, it's an easy hike, for example. And on this hike, there will be forests, creeks, and wildlife are expected. Or on this hike, it's a little bit more difficult, or there are rock formations here, things like that. And so people can have a pretty good idea of what it is they actually are going to get out of going to these various places, and they can plan their trips a little bit easier.
Yeah, so instead of going through a lot of websites, you just have one map and you can filter what you want to see.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's something that would have benefited us when we were taking the trip.
Yeah.
But
because otherwise you have to read through like 15 different websites
blogs,
and look at 10 different maps and all that, and it just takes so much time to plan everything. So
and also when you Google like the top 10 or 20 spots or hikes or waterfalls in Germany, you get all the same.
Right.
So it's a little bit limited if you type something like that in order to plan your trip. I want to go a little bit back to where we were talking about just a few minutes ago. You guys came back from your world trip, and well, I don't know if it felt like you had to start all over again, but you didn't have a job, you didn't have somewhere to live.
Right.
So I can imagine you guys had quite a few challenges before you could start all the things you talked about just a few minutes ago with your website. How did you face those challenges?
Yeah, do you want to start?
Sure. The first step obviously was to secure a source of income. So we had to start looking for jobs again. And that was extremely depressing for me, but it was it was necessary. It was a necessary evil, so to speak. But one thing that we definitely decided on, we had two criteria that we were looking for in a job that we just could not and would not back down on. We needed to have the opportunity or the ability to work remotely, and it wasn't going to be a full-time job. The 40-hour work week was not worth it, in our opinion. The extra money you get from that wouldn't have added more value to our lives. And when I say value to our lives, I mean joy, essentially. What are we getting out of our lives? Can we travel as much as we want to with full-time jobs? Well, no, we can't. But a part-time or three-quarter-time job would allow us to have enough income to afford to still go do things when we had some free time. So that was the first challenge, and that was a challenge. Not a lot of places were hiring during COVID. So that was tough. But Denise was able to find a job relatively quickly, actually.
Yeah, just a few months after we came back, I luckily found a job that I still have, by the way. I started it in 2020 and I was still working it, but it's a part-time job, which allows me to travel a lot because they let me work like a lot for a few months, and then I can take like a longer period off. So it's pretty flexible, and that's
you can build overtime.
I can build up a lot of overtime and take it all at the same time. So yeah, that's what I'm still doing, but it's not like bothering me or anything because it's a secure income and still gives me a lot of free time to work on our website and blog and Instagram and stuff. And for Ryan, it was a little bit of a bigger journey to get to where he is now. So
right. So Denise found that job, and then it was about 4 to 5 months later when I started a job, and it was 30 hours a week, and it was an on-location job as well with some flexibility regarding remote work, but it was in tourism, industry, which was perfect. I love travel, obviously. That's why we're here. And it just fit really well. And they wanted to do more with social media and stuff like that, which is obviously experience that we have as well. And I went into just a really awesome team of people who get along with great to this day as well. And I was there for 2 years. I had a 2-year contract. And at the end of the 2 years, and just with the way things had been going with COVID and everything like that, there's a stipulation because it was a government-owned company that if you've had a 2-year contract, if you get extended, then you're you get a permanent contract. You know, it's not tenure, but you can't really, it would be difficult to fire you after that. And there was a lot of uncertainty with the budget that was going to be available. And so regrettably, they couldn't extend my contract, but they didn't want to lose me. I didn't really want to go. And so we worked something out to where I would go out on my own and be self-employed essentially. And then they would hire me for jobs. And so that's what we did. And that ended up being another leap of faith, almost another risk that I took in my life that was scary, but it was absolutely worth it because not only do I have them as a customer, I have another customer that I do a lot of stuff for, and I've got some other smaller clients, some people who I've worked with in the past who need some things. I've gotten some customers through word of mouth as well, and it's going really well in that regard. There's no shortage of work, and I really like what I do, and it affords me the time to work more on our blog and on our Instagram, especially, which we focus on a lot, and be more engaged in that community as well. So another minor dream is being accomplished, we'll say, because that was something that I've always really wanted. I've always wanted to be my own boss, but it was one of those things that you just kind of say, but don't really do. And I was fortunate enough to have an opportunity to sort of get a soft start into the world of self-employment.
Yeah, and sometimes I think if you want to be self-employed, like you said, you have to take a leap of faith that it will work out. Mm-hmm. But you had like a track record of more than 2 years, have evidence that you could do this. So
right.
People would trust, well, if we give Ryne an assignment, he would just nail it or hit the ball out of the park.
Right. I appreciate that baseball reference.
Yeah, just I'm doing a little bit of research before reaching out to my guests. So, and well, in 2000, what was it? 16, you started your website. Did you guys both have like a few skills that you already had for like building a website or creating content, writing? Well, writing is something most people can do, but you can just, I also have a website, but I did have like a teammate from football who I said, well, please help me with the building of my website because I'm not good at it and I would love if you would do it. So it would benefit me because a lot of time that I would have to take to learn how to build my website, I can use in a different way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for us, neither of us had experience building websites really. I was working online. I've always been working in an online environment. So I had experience with SEO, for example, and just some general, tactics. Okay, when you're going to tease an article, then make sure the picture matches with the picture that's going to be on the next page. Just very basic stuff like that. So what I ended up doing is I ended up taking an online course for HTML and CSS, so that we could have a little bit more control over the design and structure of our web page. Because if anyone who's never worked with a website before and who starts out with WordPress, as easy as it is to use, it comes with a lot of challenges as well. And there are a lot of things that just do not work the way you would expect them to work, or the classic, oh, okay, this is cool. I'll download this theme because I want my website to look like that. And then you start putting stuff together and it looks nothing like the pictures they showed you. So I did that course. I always enjoyed writing as well, but I tend to be a little long-winded and overcomplicated. And so that's where Denise comes in to cut it down and shave it off and say, hey, you talk too much on this point. Let's break this back down, and we structure our articles. Now to a point that they're easy to grasp, easy to follow. If you want to read a little bit more, you can, but you don't have to.
Ryne basically built our website by taking these courses, and he basically learned how to build a website with our website.
Yeah,
it was
that was my playground.
Learning on the job.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So he just basically learned it like that. We changed our website like probably 5 times, like 5 themes. Like he played with a lot of things, and it'll probably change again in the future. It's always a work in progress.
Oh yeah, never satisfied.
Yeah, but he did a pretty good job in learning how to do that by himself, and I mostly focus on the content that goes into the website while he works with all the technical stuff for the website. Yeah.
So besides the building of the website, did you both develop other skills during like the past 10 years?
Oh yeah. For me, it's a lot of social media management stuff that I learned, like the community building and the photography, the video editing, the photo editing, the cutting together the videos. All of this is I learned through our blog job, basically. So that's a lot of skills I actually acquired and happy to have now. And you learned a lot of like coding stuff.
Yeah, what did you learn?
Not that much hardcore coding.
No,
it sounds more impressive than it is. But through my jobs and through social media being what it is, there are 2 things that I had to overcome, and that we both have struggled with, and that's and they all kind of revolve around anxieties that we have. We're both a little camera shy. We don't really like to talk to the camera. I developed a strong distaste for social media over the years, coming from Facebook. And I just didn't like it, and I don't want people to think that we're these like wannabe influencers, like we're trying to be famous or something. That's not what it's about. So we didn't want to show our faces. It's about the landscape, it's about the travel, it's about the experience that people have. But unfortunately, and in quotes, air quotes, you connect better with people when they can see you, and hear you. And so that was something that we both have had to overcome.
Still.
and we're still working on it, of course. And then through my job that I had, and through the self-employment, I've had to be a lot more front-facing, I guess, would be the term I'm going to use here, when dealing with customers or partners. I've been in more meetings now than I've thought I would ever have to do in my life, and it's really helped me become more concise, I say, as I'm going on a long rant. But I used to talk a lot around a subject instead of just getting right to the point. And I think that comes a little bit from my American background as well. But yeah, that's something that we've also, or that am still developing, trying to become more precise, more concise, and to the point, and instead of just rambling. like
Yeah.
like
You
now.
want to add something to that, or is this okay? Okay. What you guys are actually saying, I think, well, the main focus is traveling and showing how beautiful it can be and what beautiful places there are. But
Mhm.
if you want to go back to showing the people the things you love,
Mhm.
then it's like something that you have to do. Like it's
Mhm.
not that you want to do it,
Like a
it's
responsibility.
a necessary evil. Like
Yeah.
you
Right.
have to show yourself in order to give the most authentic experience about where your guys are going.
Yeah.
But if you reverse that, if you want to show yourself, like, look what I am doing, then
Mhm.
it's like the exact opposite of what you guys want. You guys
Right.
want to show what you guys are doing, and
Mhm.
in order to do so and to show people the most authentic experience, you have to show that you are there.
Right.
So
And
that's
yeah. No, I was just gonna add
go
to
ahead.
that.
Go ahead.
A criticism that we often get from our parents, or from my parents especially, is we never, like, why are you always looking away from the camera in your pictures, right? Or in your videos? And we explain to them, when we do it like that, first of all, it plays better. If we just show the landscape, anyone could have taken that picture, So like you said, it shows we were actually there. We can provide an authentic opinion. But more importantly, the person viewing it can see themselves there too, right? That could be you,
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you would look at yourselves or the things you love, what's the most favorite type of travel that you have? Because you both, well, during your upbringing, did travel by car,
Mm-hmm.
but when you decided to go on a world trip, well, let's take the airplane.
Mm-hmm.
But there are like 100 ways to go traveling. So I'm curious,
Right.
what's your favorite type?
Definitely road trips
Yeah.
with the car.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that comes from our childhood. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think part of it comes with like, just, I don't want to say a certain level of maturity, but I want to say more like age and stuff as well. When we were first starting out, we went as cheap as possible, which would be a Flixbus or something, €5 bus ticket to Prague, or something like that. And that's a really fun way to travel as well. And we've met a lot of great people traveling like that. So I don't want to downplay that method of travel, especially like in Asia and stuff. I'm not super comfortable driving a car in places I've not driven a car before, or in places where maybe the rules of the road are a little different, or the people using the roads are less interested in the rules of the roads. That's not Asia specifically, but there are plenty of places that would come to someone's mind. So I would say we enjoy traveling like that, or at least I do. But the road trip provides more flexibility, more freedom. You can really take your time, and you decide when you go, when and where and how long you stay.
Yeah, you can just take the scenic route instead of the quick route. You can just get out of the car to take pictures and videos whenever you want to. So that's something we really enjoy doing.
And in terms of what we like to show people, I think that helps a lot, because a huge criticism that we get from random people on the internet, whether they're real people or bots, who knows, but a lot of people, or not a lot, but we get complaints about, okay, you've shown this, now it's going to be flooded with tourists and tourists are going to ruin it, right? That's something that you hear every once in a while. But our opinion and what we feel and see through our experience is that places get flooded with tourism because that's the only thing anyone's ever heard about. Everyone goes to the Eiffel Tower. Everybody goes to the Berlin Wall. Everybody goes to these places that you've been hearing about for years, and they miss everything in between and everything nearby.
Yeah.
So
I haven't been to both, so maybe I'm
well,
the exception to the rule.
I actually haven't been to the Eiffel Tower either. We haven't.
I have.
We haven't been to Paris together.
No,
and
not
I've
together.
never been at all. But yeah, it's just the point. We show these off the beaten path places. We say, hey, you don't have to go to this place if you don't want to. Maybe it's unaffordable because of the tourism boom. Go here instead. It's just as beautiful. And doing that, people will spread out and be dispersed amongst multiple places. And so it's less likely that one place will get overrun with tourists.
Yeah. And well, I saw on your Instagram last year you went to Norway with Road Surfer.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've been to Norway in 2023, also with a van, but not with Road Surfer, a different renting company. Is that also the kind of road trip you guys meant? Because when I see a road trip, I think, well, just hop in the car and let's go. But if you have like your camper van, your like freedom is right here, is everywhere, especially in Norway.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we like to do both. Like sometimes we prefer the camper van trips, like in Norway, because it's just nature. Probably it's amazing.
Nature rules.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can just camp in these amazing places and sleep there and wake up to it, and it's like that. You just have to go on a camper van trip there. So for Norway and places like that, that's definitely our first choice. But we also like the road trip with the car, where we know we have a place booked at the end of the day, and we can take a shower and stuff. So we like to do both. Like I wouldn't say one is better than the other.
No, right. It's just really situational.
Yeah.
Where are we, and what opportunities would we have for camping or just accommodation in general?
Right.
Yeah, and also you have to experience if like a road trip or traveling with a camper van is something for you. We both are inexperienced regarding camping. So when we had the idea, well, let's do it, we were like, okay, then we have to have like a camper van that has to have a toilet and a shower and everything like that. And then we talked budget. And then it was like, okay, but if we have like a smaller camper van that's like the same size of our normal car, it saves you a lot of money.
Yeah.
But also it's easier to drive. So it's more stress-free to use that. And then, well, the challenges you face during your road trip. When I look at your track record, this is your 10th anniversary this year from your website, 2016 to 2025. Can you give me an example of the successes that you guys have had and celebrated?
Yeah, I think that's tough to answer. I mean, we've had lots of success with Instagram in particular. That's definitely our biggest medium right now, our biggest channel. And Denise, I have to praise her, has been incredible with keeping that going and with producing the content. I'm extremely proud of how much she's accomplished with that channel. I definitely take a backseat to her on that one. So I'm not even going to pretend it's otherwise. In that regard, I mean, we've hit some milestones, what people would consider milestones in terms of like a follower count or something. But like I've said before, we've never, like we might give like a little high five, hey, 200,000 followers recently, cool, but it's less of, oh my God, look at all these people looking at us. And it's more of, oh my God, look at all of these people who are benefiting from what we're doing, who have found value in what we're doing. Yeah. And that's what it's about. And so in our eyes, like that's the real success here. I like to look at it as we're making the world accessible to people, who may have not realized how accessible it can be.
Well,
no.
And another big success as for us is also when like lots of people message us all the time about like how helpful our content is, and without our videos or our map, they would have never found this place, and like they're just so thankful and stuff, or they ask us for advice, and that's really, that's what I would call success as well, because I can really feel that I'm helpful, and that, I don't know, makes me happy, and so that's a big success point for sure. But generally, of course, the fact that we were able to build this into our business and stuff, that's a big success too. I mean, we went from our hobby to making it our business, so I guess we have to say that's
true. Yeah, can't deny that.
Can't deny that. But we're happy about that, making being helpful, as I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to survive, right? And monetizing the channel is one way to do that. You got to pay your bills, but even so, like, we try our best to make sure that the stuff we promote on our channel is actually relevant and useful to the people who follow us or who come across our content. But yeah, that's really, really huge for us, that we've been able to turn this into a feel-good hobby into something that is also a source of income.
Right.
And also to be authentic. A feel-good business that's authentic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we take when we take small step into the future, like in 5 to 10 years, where do you see yourself?
Didn't know this was a job interview, Paul.
I'm sorry. You don't get the job. That's okay.
That's a really difficult question to answer, because we always have these visions of what the future holds, but our future has changed so many times that I wouldn't even know how to answer that. I would just assume we're going to continue doing what we're doing, and if we can find new ways to provide more value to people and to our community, we'll do that.
Right. Same. I'm pretty sure we will still be traveling. We will still be going on road trips. I don't know if, I'm pretty sure we'll still be living in Germany, but who knows what's going to happen.
Sure.
So,
that's most likely. I would say best case scenario, Denise can quit her current job and focus solely on this. An extremely best case scenario would be that I could focus more on this and less on my self-employment as well. But I like what I do, so
it's important to do what you like.
Yeah.
When I would summarize this conversation before also, the last question will be in a few minutes. I'm thinking about one thing, and that's like you guys, you want to inspire the beauty behind your doorstep. So when you go out, you don't have to search for beauty very far away. You can just find it behind your doorstep. And you guys, you can make sure that this happened for you using a few things, or I don't know if things is the right word, but you guys were financially aware. So you know what you have and you work with that. You were taking chances within the possibilities that were given you. And the possibilities, like the COVID example, well, it's more of a restriction, but within the restriction, you saw the possibilities and chances, but also fixing the basics before growing. So you came back from your world trip, and the first thing was housing and income. And after that, you could grow, knowing what you want and pursuing this. Also, we know we do not want a 40-hour work week. So, and we would be able to to work remote. Do what you love, but never forget your upbringing. And I think that's a small summation, the things you guys said. Going back to the question I asked you in the beginning of the podcast. What would you guys tell your younger self regarding the pursuing and making your dreams come true?
You want to go, please?
I don't know. Don't put things off. Do what you want to do. Just do it, just go for it, because lots of people always say, yeah, you can't do this. You can't go on this trip. You have to wait until you're retired or whatever. But no, don't wait. Don't wait. Just do what you want to do right now and don't put it off.
And do what you need to do, and don't underestimate the steps you have to take to do what you need to do to make your dreams come true. For me, I can speak for myself. When I was a child, we're talking about a 6 or 7 year old, I had this idea in my mind of what my future was going to be, and I just accepted that as truth and didn't ever really think that I had to do anything to make that happen. I thought, well, that's the path my life will end up on, and that's where I'll be. That's what I'll do. And I don't feel like I ever really. I don't want to say I was taught or not taught. I don't want to say this. I didn't take certain lessons seriously enough. Right. So when someone says, it was my dream to be a professional athlete, what American kid doesn't want to be a professional athlete, right? When someone said, yeah, but you have to work hard at that, you have to put in the time, I didn't believe them. I was like, well, it'll just happen for me, right? But looking back, I would have told myself, you do have to work hard. You do have to do what you need to do. And don't lose sight of what's important, and don't lose sight of your priorities. And I would say the prioritization of what's important is probably the biggest thing. To bring this back to travel, people who asked us, how could you afford this? You're working a minimum wage job. How were you ever to save up for a world trip? Well, it was priorities. We knew what we wanted. We set enough money aside so that we would be able to afford to do that. And that meant we didn't go out to eat very often. We didn't buy unnecessary things. We drank filtered water. We didn't drink sparkling water. Just all these little things we did that added up so that we had enough. We saved enough to do the things we wanted to do. Prioritization really was huge for us.
Yeah.
Do the things you have to do in order to make your dreams come true.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Exactly.
Paul's helping me be more concise.
Yeah, that's what you said in one sentence.
I'll send you the receipt after this talk.
Yeah.
No problem. Thank you guys for this talk. And I hope, you're welcome. I hope the listeners will also get inspired to make their dreams come true, but also when they are traveling, making sure they prioritize what they want to see, how they want to see this, and do the things that they have to do in order to make this come true.
Exactly.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you as well.